welcome to the Bag Searchers podcast. I'm Zach Ginn, your host. I quitted my minimum wage bag boy job to pursue the riches of real estate investing at the age of 17 and never looked back. I'm here to educate and inform entrepreneurs, young and old, how to become complete real estate investors by talking to the best and most influential minds of real estate. I'm joined by the data queen herself, Anny Draginova. Anny is a real estate investor with her company Higher Offer. She is one of the owners of Batch Leads and Batch Skip Tracing. Thanks so much for coming on today, Anny.
Thank you so much for having me, Zach.
All right. So let's get the start out of the way. How did you go from flipping pizzas to flipping real estate?
All right. So I knew working for someone wasn't my thing. It was really right off the bat. I didn't like the 9 to 5. It wasn't really a 9 to 5 job for me though. It was more so an after school gig for me because I was still in high school at the time. I was taking college credit classes to get that out of the way, and then I just needed money. So I started doing that and realized really quick that a $200 paycheck wasn't cutting it for me. So I quit that and then I started looking for a new job. I was still living with mom and dad at the time, and then my dad actually needed help with his construction company. English is a second language for us, so my dad's English is pretty broken up. So all he needed was someone to sit there and type out his invoices, which I could have done pretty easily, right? And it started from me just being his bookkeeper, his in-person assistant, to me gathering Evo, my brother, and starting to grow this entire construction company. That it was at the time, it was just my dad doing a little bit of a side hustle here and there and just helping out friends. From there, we wanted to continue growing, and I think that's the trajectory of our lives that we've had. It's just you want to keep getting better, and I think it's something that I've always strived for. Just keep getting better at whatever you're doing. And we went from construction to fix and flip to wholesale. Now we're doing development, real estate, and software development.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's take it back. So I know you were doing the QuickBooks construction, then you went to a Sean Terry event. Can you explain how you really started to get the ball rolling in wholesaling? Because everyone's learned from Sean Terry.
I think everyone, especially everyone in Phoenix, because honestly, his office is about 2 miles from my house. So I think it was on my second flip at the time, and Evo, my brother, he pointed out this huge number on my settlement statement. And at the time, I never really paid attention to my settlement statement because I'm it's okay. It's just legal fees that I don't understand. So I was I just looked over it and just signed bottom line. That was all that I did at settlement statements. And he kept pointing out this number, and it was this ridiculously huge number. And for some reason, it stuck with me. It was around $60,000 altogether. And I ended up flipping the house, but this was 6-7 months down the line. It was fixed. I fixed it up and then flipped it, and I made about 29,000 on it. Well, I spent 6-7 months doing this while there was other people making 60,000 in a matter of 2 weeks. So he kept bugging me about that too. He's look, they made it so quick. It's 60,000. Look how quick they made it. So he ended up finding, I think it was on a Black Friday special thing for Sean Terry. He's it's $100. Who cares? We'll just spend it. So that's how we kind of started with wholesaling. Is Sean Terry's event just down the street from us. It was $100 that I would spend over and over again if I knew this is where.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that created the spark for you in wholesaling, but obviously $100 Sean Terry event didn't teach you everything, that you needed to know. So how did you really transition? Because a lot of people really need help with this. They get the spark, they hear stories like you, and they want to actually start. How did you get the knowledge to really get that first couple wholesale deals?
It wasn't honestly the knowledge that it took for us to get the first wholesale deal. It was trial and error. We just started going. While we were in the Sean Terry event, Eagle posted a Craigslist ad for we're buying houses right then and there. I set up all of our LLCs while we're still in this seminar, and we're trying to get it going prior to even like walking out. I think it was a 2 or 3 day event. On day one, we had everything set up. We had the direct mail set up. We had the buyer's website set up. We had the seller's website set up. We had absolutely everything within that first day. So I think more so it was the fact that we were willing to try and to learn along the way. That's what got us started and what got us successful.
Mm-hmm. And when you were starting out, were you and Evo like together from the very start wholesaling?
Yeah. So we started the construction. We started growing that. We quickly got, I wouldn't say bored of it so much as like at the time, like my dad is a go-go person as well. And we wanted to get him to stop doing construction because we didn't think that he should be doing construction at the age that he was. He was on top of he was on top of roofs and it was 120 degrees. So we made the choice to just kind of walk away from it. And then I don't even think he knows the story, to be honest, why we walked away. But we started flipping. We started flipping separately. And then we quickly realized that we can conquer a lot more by working together. So we started fixing and flipping together. And then at that point is when we decided to not so much transition into wholesaling. We wanted to do wholesaling to get bigger spreads on our fix and flips.
Mm-hmm. And granted, so people know this, I mean, how old were you when you went to that Sean Terry event?
2016, 25.
Wow, that's very young for the average wholesaler.
Yeah. I was definitely outnumbered there it was male dominated and then a lot older than me. So I was definitely out of my comfort zone for sure.
Definitely. So let's talk about, you and Evo definitely started just branching out, getting better and better and better. And, I don't really understand, how did you start, I don't know, quote unquote, getting married in business with your other partner, Jesse Burrell? Like, how did that all come together?
So it was, there's a local Phoenix wholesale mastermind. It's 100% free for Phoenix it's an invite only. It's an invite only mastermind. It's actually set up by Brandon Simmons, which is Sean Terry's oldest position, which is that's why the whole thing kind of loops around. And he set it up, he invited us, and Evo and Jesse at the time, they kind of hit it off, and they wanted to help each other. But they thought the other one needed help, right? So Evo wanted to help Jesse, Jesse wanted to help Evo. So they ended up meeting up and they're like, well, how can I help you? Well, they were both there for that same reason, that same purpose. So then after that initial meet, Evo was telling Jesse how we started skip tracing for ourselves just to lower our costs. And Jesse's like, oh, that's awesome. Let me see if I can bring more people to even lower our costs even more. And then it started into this small partnership, which we were doing skip tracing together for about, I want to say 6-7 months. And it didn't really make sense that we had this entire other business going on. It was our wholesale, it was our fix and flip, it was everything else that was taking up so much of our time. And it really didn't make sense that we both were doing the same thing and we were competing yet collaborating on the other end, right? Yeah. So we wanted to just see what we could do if we just joined forces and conquer together. I think we all have different strengths and different, I want to say, not so much, we do have different weaknesses and we support each other through it, but our strength is what kind of helps us along the way.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because you guys are it's just funny to see how you guys are collaborating. I mean, if you talk to people from Phoenix, which I have, the one underlying thing I've learned is collaboration with everyone in Phoenix. Out here in South Florida, it's every man for themselves. Kill, 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 kill. It's just funny. I had Jamil on a couple days ago. He's all collaboration, Pace all collaboration. You know, it's hilarious seeing you guys. It's the only market I see where everyone like knows each other. They're all nice. It's hilarious.
Yeah, no, so I actually have a development project going on with Pace. I just closed 2 deals that Jamil sold 2 days ago. So definitely it's something that we do have going, and it's probably, I want to say that it's thanks to actually Brandon Simmons. He's the one that put it together. He is the one that got us all in the same room and asked us to be vulnerable, say what we needed help with. And then we, at the same time, when someone was being vulnerable, like others would pitch in and be like, well, I could help you with this. I can help you with this. Reach out to me. Like, I know the person. So that is how the whole thing actually started. It wasn't always a collaboration kind of market for us.
Okay. Yeah. Brandon Simmons, never really heard of him before, but yeah, that's interesting. So what I want to talk about here is just batch leads and batch skip tracing. So I had no idea what any of those were about a year ago before I started doing this podcast, talking to people. I always seen people wearing like these hats, and I said BST. I was like, what's going on here? And then I saw like 10 people just with these hats, and I had to look it up. I looked at BST and nothing came up until I started talking to like Pace, and he told me about it. So can you explain batch leads and batch skip tracing to our audience?
Yeah, so batch skip tracing it's kind of what made us partner up with Jesse in every other aspect of our companies, because that was the baby that we were trying to grow, and it made no sense to do other things on the side. So that is why we got married, pretty much. Out of that, so batch skip tracing, what it is it's we locate homeowners' information as far as like their phone numbers and email addresses. So people submit that list to us, and we provide the phone numbers. Batch lead stacker, or batch leads right now, because we're actually doing a rebranding. It's going to be batch leads going forward. That is a list stacking software, and we are now making it to be an all-in-one marketing platform. So we're trying to make sure that it's easy for people to do everything in this one portal where they log in. Because I know when we started, it was, you had a subscription to like 10 different things, and you had to like switch over every tab in order to get through your day, in order to send out marketing, in order to send out a text message, direct mail, whatever it may have been. And that is what we're trying to build. We're trying to build this platform to make it super easy for everyone.
Yes. I mean, I just figured this out too with our marketing. It's just one of the most powerful tools is lead stacking, list stacking. And it's something that we've really been starting to do that's really changing the business. And it's just, have you always been list stacking? I mean,
so originally, no, I want to say like 6 months into like real estate, wholesaling, we started list stacking, but it was a very tedious task. It was in an Excel spreadsheet. We would locate duplicates, and then you'd transfer it over to a different tab. And then you do it over and over, and it was a struggle because you'd shift a tab and it'd screw up everything. You'd have to go back to your original files and then start everything over again. And we knew that there had to be like a better way. We were using a different company at the time, and Evo and I are pretty, I want to say, Excel savvy, and we found it difficult. Not to mention that Jesse he's not an Excel savvy person, and he was throwing a fit. He's like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. So what we did is we set out to make a better way.
Yeah. I mean, what approach are you using for your wholesaling business now? Because the list stacking is very like narrow. I'm going to attack a very small list and get quality leads. And then you got other guys that cast a huge net and SMS blast tens of thousands of texts a day. Like, I mean, are you doing both? I mean, where are you at in your business right now?
So as far as wholesale, we're doing super niche right now. Before, I thought I wanted to be the biggest, baddest wholesaler in the nation, right? I want to say like last year, this time, that was my goal. I wanted to be the biggest and baddest. I want to say in July or August sometime, we ended up having about 40 some deals on the board. So I was like, all right, I'm successful. We're doing good. We're rocking. We're killing it. And then all of a sudden I look back at all of our numbers and the amount of marketing that I had spent and all of the manpower, because we had 7 acquisitions at the time. Yeah. So we had 7 acquisitions. There's Evo, Jesse, myself. We had a leads manager and a disposition. So we had this entire huge overhead. And you had to be on your A game 24/7. Like you could not slip. You could not slip for a second. And I think it was a small slip that we did that made me really actually realize that I made probably less money in those 40,000 or 40,000 in those 40 deals that we had than I would have in like 3 normal wholesale transactions if I just went niche. So I started really utilizing systems that would get me super niche, and just I would hammer the same leads over and over and over. Just follow-up game is pretty much the name of the game at the end of the day. And I think we got really good at it. And even Jesse jokes around that like my in-person follow-up game is pretty on point, because I will bug and annoy you until I get like what I need.
Yep.
So I think that's how you get to where you want to be. And you always want to make sure that you know that your margins, our margins in the 40 deals were, I want to say honestly, we ended up making about $3,000 to $4,000 a deal at the end of the day. Versus now we're only doing, right now I think I have like 7 deals on the board. We're making about 15 is the minimum. Beginning of April, we closed a $40,000 transaction that it cost me $300 for the lead.
Okay, and are you, this is probably a stupid question, but you're using obviously the batch leads to really produce those marketing. So is it just mostly SMS and RVM?
So it's all that we do right now.
Okay.
We kind of scrapped direct mail back in almost 2 years now. I want to say it kind of seems like time flies really quick, but it's about 2 years now that I haven't touched the direct mail piece. The reason is because I just hear, obviously we're in a very competitive market in Phoenix. Yeah. When I decided to get rid of direct mail, people's direct mail costs were about $78,000. That was for a contract. Well, my contract, I'm making 15 on average, is an average wholesale fee in Phoenix, 15. 8 is my cost. I got to pay my acquisitions. I'm walking away with nothing. Especially when you divide it in 3 at the end of the day. Yeah. So that didn't really make sense. Cold calling, we got rid of cold calling only because it was so expensive. And again, I'm trying to get, yeah, see.
I mean, it depends. Like you got a Filipino, then you got the Roosters, and then you got an American, and they want $15. Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. So definitely you got to pick your battles with your wholesale marketing strategy. Our game is telemarketing, so SMS and RVM, and we kill it. And so SMS, when you start ramping them up, I mean, how many are you sending out a month, you think?
Right now we're doing about 1,500 to 2,000 a day.
Okay. So
it's not much. For a lot of people, it could be a lot actually. But a lot of it is just follow-up. A lot of it is not just all new leads. There's definitely a good amount of new leads, but a lot of it is just us following up with old people that told us not right now, not interested, but those people that didn't tell us to take them off the list, right? Or even some of our old leads, because right now, especially with everything going on, follow-up is going to be the game changer. It's what's going to make people either very successful or get out of the game.
And I'm asking this because I'm a heavy SMS guy. I love it. You know, you have a pulse on it because you actually own a SMS company, and it's a very good one. I do recommend it. But I don't know if this is a technical question for like a Jesse, but I mean, I've seen in the past, I've only been doing this 3 years now, but like just the SMS delivery rates, I change my message all the time. And just ever since this COVID-19, the skip rate has just shot up like crazy. I mean, have you seen that with the batch leads and your marketing on SMS on new leads?
On new leads. So what's going on right now is deliverability. Are you using, just so I know, are you using us or are you using someone else?
Right now I'm using somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, right now.
And is it TCPA compliant or no?
Yeah.
It is. Okay. All right. So the one that is, what's happening is people are being, the TCPA compliant companies like ourselves, we're trying to, our end goal at the end of the day is to make sure that that message gets delivered to your end user. So we're doing a lot of internal changes that the end user does not see. We have changes, for instance, we realize that the word COVID gets marked by telemarketers, or Corona. So COVID or Corona gets marked by telemarketers, meaning if you send a message that says, hey, since there's a Corona epidemic going on right now, are you willing to sell your house, or whatever that message may be, that text message gets blocked directly from the carrier and never gets delivered, versus that carrier is now, or that text message provider is now charging you for the fee, right? What we're trying to do internally is now we're trying to tell you prior to everything happening is that it's going to get marked, it's going to get spammed. So we don't even allow people to send that out. We rotate our messages a lot more. We clean up our messages. We clean up our phone numbers very regularly now. And I think that's why you're seeing a higher deliverability rate, because the SMS providers that are compliant are being very careful with what you aren't allowed to do, because we didn't know these rules. We didn't know everything that the carriers were blocking.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're getting more savvy, helping you guys.
Yeah. It's getting insane. I know T-Mobile is like one of the most progressive on this. It's getting insane. But no, I mean, guys, SMS still works. Like, you got to check these people out, because it's compared to direct mail. Like right now, it's so expensive. You know, what is it? The post office is losing more and more money. Stamps are going up. It's just, I see the future. I mean, where do you see marketing in the future? Because you do own a marketing company.
Honestly, I think that everything has trends, and I think that we're in the midst of a text messaging trend. For some reason, I feel like everyone is getting into this text message and telemarketing game, right? So the only piece that isn't going to be touched at the end of the day is door knocking and direct mail. So I do think that even though I do think telemarketing is always going to work, because historically it always has worked, but I do think there's going to be a lot of people switching over to door knocking, because it's an in-person thing, and it's only very few and very handful people that are going to be successful at doing it. Like I think I mentioned, like I'm that person that's going to send you the text message, and I'm going to be behind the computer like texting you or shooting a text, versus you're going to pick up the phone, you're going to call, or you're going to door knock, right? Like you're better, like you communicate better. You feel more comfortable doing it. It's your go-to. For me, it's a forced thing. So I think it's definitely going to be, a market's going to be split completely in half.
Definitely. I mean, I remember as an 18-year-old kid just door knocking. It takes quite some courage for that. But yeah, it's giving me PTSD right now. It's driving me crazy. But so right now, I see you're doing a million things, and it's amazing how you're able to do that. You're raising capital like crazy. You're doing the wholesaling. I see you're in development now. I mean, what are you doing now overall in all of your businesses?
Operations.
Okay.
So I just had this talk with my mom. She's like, what does each person do? And I started going into it. She's like, I give up. She's like, I give up. But so I do more of the operations. Jesse is more of our marketing. He is our visionary. Ivo and I are integrators. Our natural ability is integrators. So pretty much what we do. He builds the system, I do operations, Jesse's visionary. So it's the way that we have it divided, the way that it works for us, and we play off our strengths.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you guys play off your strengths very well here, and I know, Evo's a big systems guy. Am I correct?
Yeah, super.
So that's what I thought here. So, systems we've changed our systems since this coronavirus has happened. I mean, what has your systems changed specifically since this coronavirus has happened on the batch leads and on the wholesaling side?
Nothing.
Really?
We haven't changed a single thing. So the only thing that we've actually changed is right now, obviously when Corona hit, it was kind of a eat what you kill kind of game, especially the first couple of weeks. So the only thing that we changed is their compensation for acquisition managers. It was because they were on a base. They were on a $2,000 base plus 10% commission. And we overpay our guys, but we overpay for a reason, because we want to keep our talent. It's expensive. It's expensive having employees turn, and for us, like we told them that pretty much it's going to be eat what you kill, but at the end of the day, we're also giving them a quarter of the spread. We're giving them 25% commission. So it was honestly bitter for about 3 hours until that acquisition ended up, I think I told you earlier today, that $40,000 spread. It was in April. It was right after I told them that it was eat what you kill. And he came back with, well, I got an offer, I got a contract signed, and Keegley, Jamil, helped to sell it, making $40K on it.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Jamil. If you want a Keegley franchise, hit him up. Great guy. But yeah, so
he's my favorite.
Oh, he's great. I just had great podcast with him and Pace. Pace actually really got me into creative finance, and ever since I had a podcast with him, I've been going all out on sub-twos, lease options. It's fun. I mean, have you done any of that creative deals or anything like that in your business?
No, we haven't, honestly. And I think more so because we have our hands in so many different things that it's difficult for me to sit down and train our acquisitions to spot this out. So as of right now, I don't think, if I do see a lead that is a potential special financing, I just shoot it over to Pace and his team. They take care of it. Once a month, I send them over all leads that wanted Zestimate or above, and they scan through them. But for me, it's not my go-to right now. We're doing development. We have over 150 development projects going, or 150 units going. We have that. We have the batch side. We have the wholesale side. I am doing currently 8 flips. So I definitely don't have time to train anyone.
I can only imagine. Yeah, I think it's really important, the point you made there of actually overpaying your employees. Turnover is so expensive. And if you read books from Gino, the EOS, things like that, I mean, just the turnover will kill you.
Yeah.
And that's the number one killer I see on the wholesaling side. I mean, have you seen that too?
Absolutely, yeah. People want to squeeze their employees to want to squeeze, and they keep squeezing so they can make an additional 200, 300, 400 a deal, whatever it may be. But they don't realize that at the end of the day, if they save 500 from paying the employee, they're going to lose it in the long run. Onboarding someone, I think we were trying to figure it out the other day for our wholesale company. It's about a full onboard is about 2.5 weeks for us. To get their pipeline built up, it's a full 30 days. So you're paying someone for 30 days and losing on potential revenue.
Definitely. I mean, it's I just think of all the old employees that we had. And, a big part of that also is, learning how to actually onboard an employee. What are you doing to help onboard like the most productive people possible, especially the most integral role, which is acquisitions manager?
So we have a few things that we do. One, we use a training platform and we log everything in there. We use Trainio. It's a startup actually that's in Phoenix, but it's a really good platform that we use. And then we just pretty much have them shadow. Once they go through a Trainio, which is about a two and a half week process. It's a lot of videos, it's a lot of reading. We have them actually break it up, but if they do it from start to finish, it's about 2.5 weeks if you're doing it full time. And then once you're over that hump, you start shadowing someone. You sit down, you sit with the current acquisitions, and you start going over everything. You watch them. That is our onboarding. We also have them do Sandler training. We have a class in Phoenix. Steve Trang actually runs it. So we have them jump on those calls consistently. And they do it twice a week. So that takes a lot off of my plate because we already have everything systemized and online and they just log in and do their training. My current acquisitions continues doing the training, and the sales part that gets trained is with Steve and his team.
Yeah, I had Steve on the podcast. He's all in on that. I didn't even know what that was, and I went back. It's powerful.
It is. It absolutely is. If you listen to the guy, if you listen to Pace and a sales call from Pace and a sales call from Steve, and then you listen for a sales call with someone that's never done any kind of sales, or they think the old traditional car sales works, like it's completely different.
Oh, definitely. I mean, just in my market here, I'm the only non-car salesman type dude there, and it's changed the game for me. It's all about rapport, honestly, with me. But yeah, I mean, that Sandler training is great. But what I really wanted to talk to you now is something pretty unique with you. You know, obviously you're an immigrant woman in their 20s. You know, I've been in the rooms with all these successful real estate investors, all millionaires, and you can almost feel like, with me being 18, 19, just feeling like alone in a room like that. Obviously, you being a woman with a crazy testosterone-filled room in your 20s got to be even crazier. I mean, how do you handle that? And, you know, what do you say to someone starting out that just feels kind of alone in this industry?
As far as how I handle it, at first, honestly, I was the person that sat in the back of the room. I kind of hid because I wasn't sure. I felt like for me to speak out, I had to know a lot. For me to make connections with people, like I had to know a lot. At the end of the day, I realized that it's not really that. It's what can I offer to people to help them out. So I started building my network little by little. Well, obviously with the help of my brother and Jesse, and we started like growing our network. And I felt more and more comfortable and more aware of what room I was in, whether I can help people or I'm there to get help. So, right. So there's different rooms that you're in where you know that you can add value. And then you're in other rooms where you know that people can add value to you. So I think realizing the two differences is really important. And then as far as for people that are struggling to kind of feel comfortable in this industry, because it is very intimidating. Like you said, it is very testosterone driven. And you can get overshadowed really quick. Your network. That's all I can say at the end of the day is your network. Build your network one person at a time and it will eventually grow. Don't worry about the fact that since it is testosterone, like the thing is you don't know. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like, even though like you feel intimidated at the end of the day, you shouldn't, because you're there for a reason. You're in that room for a reason. You're put in that room. Obviously you have like skills. There's value you can add. So go in with what you can add.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, that's why I wanted you on the show, because I get some women just that are trying to get in the industry DM me, and I'm like, why are you DMing me? go to Anny, like go to someone like that. But yeah, I think it's really important for people to have like role models, especially when they're starting out. Like I know you see Sean Terry, and he's just like he's just this huge figure. You're like, I want to be like him one day. And I think it's really important. That's why I'm trying to get more women on the show. I had Wendy Patton on, and she blew me away. She's done 1,000 lease options in the past like 30 years. And it's just, it's really amazing.
I can definitely recommend a lot of women that could add value to your podcast. There's definitely a couple of women that come right off. Like there's a couple of powerhouses out in Texas and some in LA. And definitely, I think there's a lot more women stepping up in this game. So it's not as intimidating, I think, as it used to be, because it was just a Sean Terry out there. It was a Kent Clothier out there. It was just a Brett Daniels, right? Like they're very powerful men, and it's just, as a itty bitty female, I felt always intimidated. But now I feel a lot more comfortable with all these women in the industry. So there's women out there. Please reach out.
I'm trying. I try to get my sister on. You know, she's younger than me, and it's just funny. You know, she doesn't want to get into this industry, but it's just funny to think like that. But obviously, working with your brother, I mean, it's a family business. It's definitely a way different than having a partner. Now, obviously, having a partner, like there's no firing each other. Like you're in it. But I think adding that family ties to it. I work with my dad, like just interwoven with coaching, this. I mean, how do you handle working with the family with, you know, problems and just taking it somewhere else when it has to be?
Well, the thing is, I don't know anything different.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with my dad when I was 17. Got my brother on board when I was 18. So my work career, I want to say, or my adulthood, I've always had a family member in it. But as far as the way to separate it, I think it's best. It's just work problems get left at work, family problems get dealt with at home. The biggest struggle, I think, is separating, like leaving work at work. It's not the fact that you bring family problems into work, it's leaving work at work. Because I'd noticed we'd sit at the dinner table, because it's Evo, Dad, and Mom. Mom is the only one that's not in the industry, that wasn't in the construction company. So we'd speak jargon, and we'd speak about work, and we speak about marketing, and we speak about the entire company at the dinner table. That's not where it should happen. So definitely leaving work at work is the hardest problem. Or is the
I completely understand that. It happens all the time with me, you know, but the next thing I really wanted to ask you here was, you know, being actually, I don't even know. From what I've seen from you, I mean, are you married? Do you have kids?
No.
Okay. So, I have okay. The reason I ask you this, because I go on podcasts all the time, talk to people, and I feel so selfish saying this. Like everyone asks what my why is, and it just seems so selfish for me to say, because the average person says, you know, I do it for my kids, my family. It's like I'm 20. Like I'm doing this so I don't have to have a 9 to 5, so I can like just build an empire here. I mean, what is your why? And I mean, how do you go about it not acting like you're arrogant at all saying it?
So I definitely struggled with that for a very long time. Like you said, it's you always hear like, my why is my daughter, my why is my wife, my why is my husband, and you're sitting there and you're like, well, all right, like I got a dog, like what else is, I can't say that. And it took a while for me to realize that saying my why is myself right now is okay. What that builds into is completely different. So my why now, your why can always change. Like it doesn't have to be like this one thing that you pick, right? Mm-hmm. So my why now, my why for the past couple of years has been, I want to build this empire so I can help others. I don't know exactly what that means just yet, and that's okay. I don't need to know it all. But I did start last year. You might have seen or like videos or heard about it. Last year we did a small charity event in Phoenix, and we kind of just did it as a fun thing, right? I did it because I just wanted to help. Like I didn't know who I was going to help and how many people we were going to touch and what we were going to be able to raise. But we ended up raising $10,000 for an effort that took, I want to say maybe 10, 12 hours total to do. and we helped thousands of kids get Christmas presents. So getting that satisfaction, that like, I think like it's an emotional high and an emotion, like Pace calls it an emotional paycheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to him speak, like he'll call it an emotional paycheck. That was my emotional paycheck. So now my why is trying to figure other ways to do this, to get that emotional paycheck. But I think the more that I'm able to build, the bigger of an empire I'm able to make, the more money I'm able to earn, the more people I'm able to touch. Mm-hmm. So that's why I don't think that I'm arrogant about it, because it's not completely, yes, I don't want the 9 to 5, but I also want to help.
Definitely. I mean, in our industry, we help people all the time. I mean, almost every week I go to a closing and I just get hugs from the sellers, just thanking me. It's the best emotional paycheck I could get. Like, I love the charity, but it's just what we do. It's just, we just help people. I love it, especially the wholesaling side. But yeah. So another question I have here is, I mean, what do you think has been obviously in the future, you'll have more highs, but what is your highest highs and your lowest lows in this industry?
In the industry?
I guess overall in real estate.
Okay, so my highest, or I would say I'll start with my lowest. My lowest was when we partnered up with Jesse. It wasn't the partnership, like at all, so don't get that wrong. But it was the fact that, so it was May 1st, actually, that we decided last year, everything is now married. So, right, it's 1 year that we partnered up on the transaction today. And we both stopped marketing in April, thinking that we're going to have these two pipelines and we're going to merge it into one. That way it's going to be easier because they're going to be kind of slowed down. And then May 1st, we just turned on marketing and that's it. Like nothing happened. Well, that was the biggest mistake ever. We stopped marketing, and for new leads, new potential, new hot leads to start coming in our pipeline was 45 days. So 45 days, we had to support 7 acquisitions, 1 dispo, and 1 lead manager and marketing costs without getting a single dollar in. That was my lowest low. Obviously, the corona hitting, we all panicked as well. But overall, like end of May last year was my lowest low.
Couldn't imagine that. Oh my gosh. And what was the highest high?
Highest high. Honestly, there was an event that happened in Houston last year, October, hosted by Elizabeth. I'm going to butcher her last name. It's Navarrete. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, if you're watching. But she hosted an event, and I didn't know that was a high until after the event, actually. So what came out of that event is a few partnerships. We partnered up with Cashflow Chris in Phoenix. Now we're doing an apartment complex, 22 new builds on a mountain. We raised money with him as well. So that entire partnership came from that. On top of that, we've had so many other opportunities and just the opportunities, and just we were able to touch a lot more people just because of that event, I think. And I didn't realize that it was so impactful at the time, but looking back at it now, like that is when we got even closer with Pace. We got even closer with Jamil, because they were all there. They were all speakers. I was speaking as well, but it was so rewarding afterwards. I'm an introvert, so being out there was very difficult for me. So afterwards, like that, I wouldn't say that was my highest high.
Definitely. Was it Ground Zero, or was it like Wholesaling? Which one was it? I don't know who. Wholesaling. Okay.
Yeah.
I know a couple of them in Texas. Okay, cool. And I love to ask everyone this question too. Is, I mean, what is your craziest real estate story?
Oh my goodness, craziest real estate story. I don't think there's definitely just one. But I would say like the most recent, a contract we actually contracted last year June 1st, maybe 2nd, 3rd, somewhere around there.
Okay.
We sold it on the 30th, so yesterday.
Nice.
So the home, it was an entire journey. It was an entire court process. I think the homeowner was, his daughter wanted him to sell. He wasn't all mentally there, so she was like taking over all of the ownership. She was putting him into like a nursing home and everything. So it was very difficult dealing with the homeowner, even though it was for his best. At the end of the day, like just dealing with all of that nonsense was probably like the craziest. I don't really know what else, like I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Oh, trust me, you'll get some pretty crazy ones the next 10 years, but
Absolutely.
okay. So really to end this off, I got a couple more questions for you here is, I mean, where do you see yourself and you and your partners in the next 1, 5, and 10 years?
See, I've tried to plan out, and I know this is like every book that you read, you need to like focus for your future, you need to like build, you need to game plan where you want to go. Last year in January, we fired our entire wholesale team and we built it back up before partnering up with Jeff. So if last year you would have asked me, where do I see myself from, like, I would have not seen this empire that we already have of like us doing all of these projects. So more so, I don't want to limit myself to any opportunities that are out there because I'm focusing on something that isn't gonna benefit me the most at the end of the day. So as of right now, I can't answer that question, to be honest. I have no idea. I'm open to opportunities, whatever that may be, whatever that means. And I know that I want to build the software company, the SaaS-based products, a little bit better, a little bit bigger, automate and systemize that. So you can kind of like step back and watch it. But as far as 5-10 years, I have no idea. None. Quarantine.
No. Yeah, definitely. I mean, your growth in the past year with you and your partners has just been unprecedented. It's insane. So I hopefully you get even more growth that next year, but it's insane. But I mean, I like to end this with just the last question I ask every single person on my podcast here is, if you were 17 years old again, in Phoenix, Arizona, you had $300 in your bank account, I mean, what would you do to become the next Anny Draginova?
I would do YouTube University. So there's podcasts like this, right? Yeah, there's podcasts like this. There's trainings that are just everywhere. There's people that are providing free content out there, and it's good content. Pace, I know, for instance, he has so much content out there that is so valuable, and it's even if 2 years ago or when we started, you would have asked me to pay for this, I would have paid. But the fact that Pace is now a friend, I'm not gonna pay for it. But I would definitely try to do YouTube University. Facebook has a lot of private groups, and just even if they're not private, they're just groups on Facebook that you can join, ask questions, and network. That's where I would start. See if you can JV with people. If they have a seller, find the buyer. If they have a buyer, find the seller, whatever that may be. If you see old wholesale deals that weren't able to get sold maybe a couple of months back, try to see if you can find a buyer for that and go back to the homeowner, see if you can add value.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, if any 17-year-old kids listen to this, I mean, YouTube's got everything. It's amazing. I mean, what did Pace do? Like 16 hours a couple of days ago? It's insane.
Yeah.
So there's endless content for you to become a great real estate investor. And so if someone's got some money and they actually want to narrow their list, actually get good data, quality data, and get some good niche lists, I mean, where would they go to start list stacking?
They would go to batchleads.io. So they just sign up to whatever plan it works best for them. We do have promotions going on. I don't know when this is going to air or when people are going to be listening to it. So just reach out to our support. to our sales team. They will take care of you guys, but I would start there. Even honestly, our base plans, I feel like if I had that tool when I started, it would have saved me so much money. I was just even looking through some like old pictures. I had like bins and bins of like return postcards. And now knowing what I know, like I wouldn't have mailed all those people. It was maybe tens and thousands of dollars of return postcards that I ended up recycling. So it's definitely worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys got return mail, you guys need to put that in some software and cold call that or SMS that, because those things are golden. Those things are, I've made so much money off just the return mail. And if someone wanted to get quality skip tracing, where would they go to?
So the batchleads.io, if you're using it, there's skip tracing within it. If you're not using it, there's a pay-as-you-go website. It's just batchskiptracing.com. And then you can just, minimum is 50 right now. So we're trying to keep that.
Awesome. Great. And do you have any parting thoughts or comments to the audience before we sign off?
Lately, my parting thought has always been fail fast, fail forward. And nothing changes if nothing changes. That's kind of all I have to say.
Boom. I'm really excited for you coming on the podcast. I can't wait to have you and your other partners come on in another year and just see your growth and just to help collaborate, help each other. So I really appreciate it, guys. Check them out, batchleads.io. Thank you. I'll see you next week.